including at running back. And Ashton Jeanty comes into play there. He's specifically a prospect that we love. You see him arriving today. The Heisman finalist has tape that will wow you. He's also an incredible human on top of all that. Now, Mel has 2 running backs going in the top 12 in his latest mock draft. Jeanty going 6th overall to the Raiders. Omarion Hampton going 12th to the Cowboys. Interesting. It'd be the 3rd time in the last 10 years that 2 running backs are picked in the top 12. I caught up with Jeanty earlier today.
Yeah, I think I've always had it, just having that low center of gravity. Some people think because I'm shorter that's a disadvantage, but I really feel it's an advantage. So having that low center of gravity and, I work out a lot, so, I got some good muscles. I'm strong. So that ability to bounce off defenders and, just have great contact balance. And there's a lot of guys that I watch. One guy's Alvin Kamara. Saquon Barkley was the best, so you got to watch the best, right? And, Jahmyr Gibbs, going both ways, in the pass game and the run game. And Bijan Robinson as well. There's a lot of great guys to watch in the NFL right now. Yeah, I think you watch Saquon Barkley and the Eagles, right? You see how amazing it is to have that running back who has that X factor, meaning that he's special, he's a playmaker. But not only that, it's kind of like a plug and play, right? I'm a plug and play type of player. Any offense you putting me in, I'm going to enhance that offense, make it better, and, take some of the load off of your quarterback, right? And then, when we get to the end of those games, fourth quarter, when teams want to quit, I'll be that guy to, finish the game for everyone.
I mean, just the way he even talks about his own game, what he brings to a team, I don't know how you couldn't love this guy. Field, as a prospect, what about him makes teams potentially willing to invest a high first-round pick in him?
Yeah, the short story is he is a zero-weakness player. There's not an area of deficiency in his entire game. I think he's actually underappreciated as a pass catcher because they didn't really need him to catch the ball much this past year, but had over 550 receiving yards in 2023. To me, though, the signature trait is the contact balance, and what that leads to is the unique ability to break tackles at a borderline unprecedented rate. Check this out. Last year, he had 88 broken tackles, 19 more than Cam Scadaba, who's, of course, a great prospect in his own right, as is Omarion Hampton. He had 38. And obviously the volume was terrific for Ashton Jeanty this past year, but he runs with this anger and this ferocity to him that it doesn't matter whether it's a safety, a corner, or even a defensive lineman. His first thought process is, I'm going through you before I have to go around you. He is really a powerful young man.
Oh, my goodness. It does feel like the running back position had a bit of a resurgence this past season. You saw Derrick Henry get paid, Saquon Barkley get paid in free agency. Has the value of the position, Mina, maybe raised itself a little bit to where teams would be more willing to invest in these guys early?
Yeah, my thinking on this has evolved in recent years. When I look at the success of Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Henry, or younger backs like Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, my takeaway, Lewis, is this. If you already have a good run-blocking offensive line and all of those backs play behind good run-blocking offensive lines, adding a great back has a force multiplier effect. It's almost paradoxical, right? Because you think, well, if you have a bad offensive line, maybe you bring him in a good running back. No. I actually think if you have a bad offensive line, focus on building the offensive line, then you get the running back. But if you're a team like a Denver, for example, in this draft, picking at 20, where the offensive line is already set, I do think it is worth investing draft capital at the position. So for me, it's really team dependent.
Yeah, look, I think really guys like Saquon Barkley and Jahmyr Gibbs have made people go, look, there's different ways to create the number one thing that every offense is after besides scoring, which is explosive plays. That's what every offense wants. Every coach, when they go into a game plan meeting every week, they're going, look, how can we get chunks? It's just too hard, right, to go 8, 10, 12 plays every drive. So they think, how can we just flip the game quickly? Most people think, well, you got to have a guy outside who you can throw it to and he can go 60 and when you win it that way. But then, with the pass rushers and offensive line play being so uneven across the league, you can't depend on that all the time. So now it's almost like you've come back to what Saquon Barkley showed you this year. The running back can do that. Jahmyr Gibbs showed you in Detroit. When Brad Holmes got eviscerated for picking him, he's going, look, I'm confident in my picking him. And then you watch him play this year and you're going, yeah, I see why you were confident in why you picked him. And when you look at guys like Ashton Jeanty and you look at the statistics that he put up this year in terms of plus 10, plus 20, plus 30, plus 60-yard runs, he's setting historical records doing this stuff. And then when you see him in person, like I'm telling you, when you watch him on tape, it doesn't do any justice as to how this guy is put together. He is this 100% pure muscle. He's so thick and dense, but he's not a tight runner. He can jump cut and make people miss as much as he can break tackles. He's got the total game. So for me, it's kind of case by case with these backs. If they can rip off plus 20-yard plays, get them.
Yeah, the sort of dichotomy this year is that there is such historical depth in this year's running back draft class that you may say to yourself, I could find a starter in round 4, 5, 6, or 7. That being said, to me, the range for Ashton Jeanty is very narrow. He's just too much of a can't-miss prospect. And while there are some teams that I think would be wiser to invest in a running back a little bit further towards the back half of the first round, I think there's a real shot somebody in the first 8 to 12 picks is going to take Ashton Jeanty, and they're saying to themselves, the minute we draft him, we have the clearest path to a Pro Bowl level player of any prospect in the class.
What about Omarion Hampton? Because you saw Mel's mock, he's got Omarion Hampton being taken 6 spots after where Jeanty was being taken.
That gap feels too narrow to me personally. Omarion is an excellent prospect, had a monster back-to-back seasons here with North Carolina. I just don't see the same level of juice as Ashton and the same level of tackle-breaking ability as was evidenced by that number earlier on in the segment.
Again, it's going to be really interesting to see teams that need a running back. Do they try to get somebody super early, or do they wait because of the depth in this class, to Field's point? They're working out tomorrow in Indy. Here's a look at Mel's top 5 wideouts in this class. Travis Hunter, number 1, as you see right there, followed by Ted McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, and Matthew Golden. So, Lewis, let's start with Egbuka. Why would teams be high on the Buckeye wideout?
Because he's a versatile inside-outside player, although he probably had upwards of 60% of his snaps in the slot over the past 2 years. You know what he reminds you of? He reminds you of the way he moves. He moves like Chris Olave used to move. Real smooth and fluid, real subtle change of gears, but you never see him get caught. He can attack the middle of the field, great contested catch guy. Great run after the catch guy. I mean, he's just a very versatile dude. They put him in the slot and let him block a little bit. I wouldn't say he's Cooper Kupp, but he will definitely get the job done. He's just versatile, Laura, and he just catches the ball in contested environments with like this smooth, like easiness and grace. It just reminds me of Olave so much, and I think a lot of people would like to have a Chris Olave on their team.
Man, so many Ohio State receivers have had success in the NFL. Mina, how about Ted McMillan out of Arizona?
Yeah, he's my wide receiver 1. 3 things I love about him. Start with the hands. You guys know I do not like the goal line fade, but when you got a guy like this with hands like that and play strength, it shows up on these back shoulder balls, the way he attacks the football and then plays through contact. Physicality matches the 6'4" size. Yards after the catch. So he's not running this week. I don't care. I've seen him move on tape, and it looks like this. The stop-start ability, again, at that size is very unique. He's a fluid mover as well. He's not going to dazzle you with his long speed, but on the field, trust me, it translates. You see here, again, stop-start to avoid contact and then hitting the accelerator to get to the end zone. Plenty fast enough to me when you, again, consider how big his frame is. Speaking of that frame, finally, body control. Getting those feet, that is deceptively difficult right there. What you saw, stopping your momentum, keeping your feet down, and then turning upfield. It's all over the tape. The ability to get his feet in, both feet, by the way, in college football is something that is going to serve him well in the NFL. Lots to like about his game.
Love that game. Field, a great talent, but there are some questions surrounding Luther Burden out of Missouri. Why?
Yeah, 2023, Laura, this guy had all the rack available. This guy was a yards after catch machine. His production was off the charts. A lot of that same team was back in 2024, and the production fell off a cliff for Luther Burden III. And scouts are saying to themselves, what happened, right? Same quarterback, a largely successful team. It wasn't like this team had a terrible season and the offense just completely fizzled. The questions are not going to be about some of the physical gifts. Some of the power and the acceleration and the run after catch trace that you saw in 2023 did not disappear, but we did not see them nearly consistently enough. This is an important week for Luther Burden. We'll see whether he actually runs here at the Combine, but the interviews are going to be very, very integral as well. Finding out what contributed to your down season by the astronomical standard that you set for yourself back in 2023.
He has been such a key piece of that Missouri offense the whole time that he's been there. Eli Drinkwitz used him in so many different ways. Was a bit perplexing. I wonder if some of the injuries at the quarterback position factored in, but either way, to your point, some explaining to do here in Indy, and that's one of the things that these prospects can do with the teams in person.